So we're streaming now. Actually, we're here to record another pack review. It's been I feel like it's been a long time. Like a month?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Since the last pack. All right, well, today we're here to talk about the Unspeakable Oath.
And we're speaking about it, so...
We're probably messed up. You know, so whenever we do Cthulhu-y stuff, it makes me think of the episode of Tabletop. Yeah. Where we and then play Elder Sign, and he talks about Haster all the time, which is the campaign we're in, theoretically.
Yeah. And it was a disaster for him, as I recall.
And so we really should respect the fact that there are things we shouldn't mention. So, in fact, we're not going to do this review today because...
see you next pack?
No. But the first card, as you can see up on the screen, is called Trench Knife. So it is a one-cost asset with a fist icon on it, and it's got the cool brass knuckles and knife, so it's the best of both worlds.
Combo, yeah.
It says engage actions you perform do not provoke attacks of opportunity, and as a fight you get as an action you can fight, and you get plus X fight or plus X might for this attack, where X is the number of engaged enemies with you. So it scales up as you're in the shit, if you will. Pardon my French.
The more people you're fighting, the better it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walked in this morning, the first thing Kyle asked me was, what do you think about Trench Knife? And, I was like, meh.
It's a knife. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do any extra damage, which kind of sucks, so you'd have to augment it with Vicious Blow or something like that. But you do get the ability to have kind of a dynamically functional knife, so if you're engaged with something that would take 7, that has 5 fight, and you can't do it without the knife, you're probably not going to do it with the knife.
Yeah, my first thought when I saw it, what other things can the Protector get that, this is better than? There's the normal neutral knife, which adds 1 fight.
Yeah.
You can toss it for 1 damage. Mm-hmm. There's the Machete, which adds one fight, and then it does plus 1 damage if you're engaged with only 1 enemy. And then there's, the Blackjack, which adds 1 fight, but then if you mess up, you don't hurt your ally.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is supposed to be put in other factions or other decks because it costs 1 and it has no experience, so you can get something that might be helpful if you are William York and you can't get any of you can't get the Blackjack or anything that's upgraded. I don't know if Blackjack is upgraded, but it might be good because also the fact that you're getting 1 more thing you can do that doesn't provoke an opportunity attack is good.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it's for. This in taunt could be pretty cool, I guess, if you taunt a bunch of enemies and you start murdering them.
Yeah, I think if you're probably building around it, it might be pretty good, but it's not going to be a general upgrade for anything.
Yeah. Maybe you start with it if for some reason.
I was very whelmed by it.
I do like the flavor text though. It says it's seen more violence than most people see in a lifetime. Because it's been in the war. It's been to the war. And that art's kind of cool. But, yeah. Alright, the next card we got is called Ambush. I think this card's really cool.
Yeah, I liked it when I first read it.
2 cost, 1 experience event. It's got a book and a fist, my icon. It's a tactic, so Mark Harrigan can have it, even though he could already have it because it's Protector. You attach it to your location, and if there are no investigators at attached location, discard Ambush. But after an enemy spawns at attached location, deal 2 damage to that enemy and discard Ambush. So 2 resources for 2 damage without having to do a test. All you have to do is make sure someone's at the location.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too, especially if you are playing campaigns the second time through. You can really get a lot of use out of this because you know where people are going to spawn and you know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even then, how many times have we been planning something and then during the Mythos phase, something spawns there and it just totally ruins everything.
Mm-hmm. Because this could take out a decent amount of enemies with 2 damage. All the Alkalites are dead. The Wizard of the Order is dead. A lot of the little psychopaths in the Carcosa set are dead.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
2 damage is nice.
Yeah. So I really like this card when I saw it, and it's only 1 XP, so it can go in a lot of decks.
Mm-hmm. It can go into anything that can take a cross with Protector. So
yeah,
I think it's cool. I'm ready to see it, and I'm ready to use it and see how it helps me not fail as much.
Yeah.
All right, next card we got is our second and our third patron. It's the patron for Seeker, which is Charles Ross Esquire. He's acquisitions and solicitation. He Costs 2, and he's an asset, and he gives you a book icon if you commit him to a skill test. Again, he has that patron keyword, which isn't super important right now, but it is kind of thematic. You may spend resources to pay for item assets played by other investigators at your location. So we kind of have like the Charles guy, the politician dude kind of effect from Elder Chor, where he can like give assets to other people. And I know that like some of our group members, especially Min Tai Fan and Daisy, have like tons of money when they play. So this guy being out on the field means that like everybody's money can be provided equally. You know, it can be like distributed more equally.
Oh yeah.
If someone's not doing a lot with it. And as a quick action, you can exhaust him to reduce the cost of the next item asset played by an investigator at your location by 1. So not only can you spend resources for other investigators, you can help them pay for stuff every turn.
Yeah.
So I'm in love with this guy.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a really neat feature. And it definitely like promotes the staying with the group aspect and like trying to keep your friends alive.
I wonder if there's like an item version of Ash Can Pete where you can play this guy in and you can just rock the house. Instead of playing like really like lean Ash Can Pete, either you have like ready assets you control, so you might be able to do this twice a turn to reduce stuff by 2. You know, I wonder if there's like a really cool deck that you could build around him with Esquire, Charles Ross Esquire. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think he's super cool. Good patron.
Yeah.
Can take 2 sanity too, which is always good.
Yeah.
Can be sacrificed to the elder gods. Then we have Forewarned. I think that this card and what is it? A Test of Will are like super good, and other factions needed this besides just Mystic, because you have the Disc of Ibn's or the Disc of Zuma or something like that.
That one protects you from monsters.
Yeah,
and then there's the.
But it costs experience and it's expensive. And this card has 1 experience, so it can go in most other Seeker decks, and it's costs 0 to play.
Yeah.
And it's got a Will of Power icon. It's Insight keyword. And it says fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Place one of your clues on your location, then cancel that card's revelation effects. And of course, it's got the G.I. Joe thing, knowing it's half the battle. But this is solid. This is a solid include in Seeker.
Yeah. Downside is if you don't have any clues, it won't work for you. But you know,
it just gives you a reason. If you know you have in your deck, you just hold on to 1 more clue, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like it's not too hard to get clues as Seeker. You have to place one on like your location. But like a lot of Seeker cards get better if you have a clue on location. So.
Yeah, like that's a really good point, and you can like facilitate other players doing it too. Like you could have Roland get a clue that way because he's going to kill an enemy this turn, so you could like dump a clue and then Roland gets it for free, and then you can do other stuff. And
yeah,
I think there's a lot of cool things that can happen. You know, there is a lot of stuff in this campaign specifically, a little bit of spoilers, that cause you to put clues on and off locations a bunch, but you know, might not be too bad.
Yeah,
but I think this is solid, like upgrade.
Yeah, this is really good. Definitely, like anything to stop like the treachery cards is great.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where like having a no test version of a card is always better than having to test. So this is I'm showing it to you here when you can see it here, but they're effectively cards that make it so you don't have to test once a turn or once a game or something, and that's really good when you need it.
Yeah.
So the next card we got is our 4th patron. Dario El-Amin. He's an unscrupulous investor. He costs 4, and he's an asset, and he's got a book icon. And while you have 10 or more resources, you get +1 willpower and +1 lore. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He has a 2 health and 2 standity as well, which is kind of cool. And if there are no enemies at your location, you can exhaust him to gain 2 resources. So this is kind of a very economic card because it lets you once a turn get 2 instead of 1 for your action, which is kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
And him compared with Jenny or even Skids, like who can just get resources from stuff, or if you play like Hot Streak, and I think you could definitely use this guy very similar to how people use Dark Horse.
You think so?
Just because it's a buff and you can sit on 10.
I thought it was kind of weird. I felt he was like sort of like the anti-roguish.
Okay.
Because you know you use his action, because he sort of takes an action away from a rogue to get 2 resources. Rogues are
if you do it via him, but yeah.
Yeah, rogues are really good at getting resources. Normally, they have a lot of cards that do that, and then you have to sit on all your resources to get his buff, which is a brain and a book. Those are really good, but those aren't typically rogue skills.
Well, I wrote an article the other day about like skids and how like he has like a very low willpower stat, which harms him a lot because I think it's like 2. This card in skids could be really good if you can sit on those and the resources, and you know sometimes you'll go below it and that's fine. But getting extra willpower for a rogue is pretty significant, I think, with the rogues that we've seen, because I think except for Safina Rousseau. Yeah. Because she's obviously got the skills to pay the mystic bills.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know. I think having willpower is good. The lore is going to be good for investigation no matter what. But it does take a lot to charge this guy up, and so by the time you might be able to play him or get your bonuses, there might be better cards.
Yeah.
But he could be cool.
Yeah, like I'm not saying he's.
Dude, he's unscrupulous though.
Well, yeah, of course. Of course.
He just reminds me of the dude from what is it? The guy from like Journey to Atlantis, or the Disney movie with Michael J. Fox, like the guy at the beginning of that who like pays for the submarine and all that stuff. That's what he reminds me of. He's the dude who pays for your your crazy adventures around the world. And sometimes he helps you with a little clue here and there. He's like the guy you go to in between like real important story arcs in the season to go get more missions. He's got an exclamation mark above his head. All right, this is super cool. An upgraded sneak attack is the next one we have. It's 2-cost event, so it's the same cost as regular sneak attack. It gives you a book and 2 might icons, which is kind of cool. It got one more might icon than the original. 2 fists. It does cost 2 experience, but it's a tactic, so Mark can have this if he wants. Yep. And if you deal 2 damage to an enemy, you could deal 2 damage to an enemy not engaged with you at your location, which is
way good,
exponentially better than the first one. Because that one you have to evade, you know.
Yeah.
And there's cards in the game that will let you disengage but not evade from an enemy. So evading is kind of like the plus version of a disengage.
Yeah.
Or if you have aloof enemies.
Yeah.
Take out this whippoorwill, son. Get out of my life, whippoorwill. Get out of my life and shut up.
Just scare out a whippoorwill.
You sneak attack it. You like throw a knife at it from below the tree, and it's like ah. All right. What do you think about this card?
Oh yeah, I love this card. Like, there's nothing bad about it, and it's just like so much of an upgrade. There's no reason to not take it.
I absolutely love that Mark Harrigan can have this card, like, because it makes him just that more of a bamf when you're talking about fighting stuff. He does one thing, and he does it well, with this card. More well, the wellest,
the greatest,
the great or greatest,
the bester.
I think it's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited that we're seeing stuff like that because it opens a lot of like portals for cards that we saw before that we might see cool upgrades for. Oh, yeah. Obviously, we say that every time we see an upgrade for a card.
We just love the upgrade. Everything is good.
This Storm Spirits card is nutso. We haven't had like a lot of solid AoE effects in this game yet that can like clear stuff from a room or a location, besides Dynamite. And Dynamite's pretty. It's expensive and it's
very violent to everyone involved all the time.
Yeah, and so this card has the potential to not be as violent to the investigators. Potential.
Yeah.
And so it's called Storm of Spirits. It's a 3-cost event with a willpower and a might icon. It's a spell, and it says fight. This attack uses brain instead of might, which willpower instead of might, which we know. That's every spell in the game. If you succeed so far, but we've had spoilers for spells that don't use willpower.
Suggested spoilers.
Yeah. No, they're actually real.
Okay.
Instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. So if you have something that adds damage or whatever. If you draw one of the significant icons or the significant chaos tokens, during this attack, you deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location, which is still better than Dynamite.
Yeah.
Even though you're losing 1 damage on all the enemies. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of a scenario in which we would really like this in our last 4 or 5 games, and I can't. But I think it's like a one of, and you have it. And if you need it,
I think there were a bunch.
But that just means I have a terrible memory.
There weren't like any scenarios where there was like a bunch of enemies, and then like we avoided them is what happened because there's like, well, I'm not running in there because
none of us
like,
were fighty.
Yeah,
okay.
But there was, if like someone had this, we could have ran in there and done it. I'm like, but we're just like, well, we're gonna leave instead.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think this card's pretty solid, and for 3 costs, like it's just as expensive as like a Shriveling.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
And there's no charges on it either, so you can just launch Storms of Spirits
and
at will.
It has 0 experience, which means it can be included in any deck that can have it.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and which suggests there might be upgrades for it later on, which means more damage, but also probably more killing of your.
Because that's how it happens with Mystics.
But that's fine.
That's fine, just fine. We don't need those other people when we can summon spirits. All right, the next card is something I think a lot of Mystic players have been waiting for. It's just a straight up, like, let's put charges on stuff card. That's not specific to a certain investigator, right? There's like 1 or 2 cards out there that do that when you're lucky, but this card is just straight up spend a resource in action to get a charge on a thing, which means that it's even better to leave blank spells out there. It's Book of Shadows. It costs 3 and it's 1 experience, and it gives you a lore icon, which is kind of cool, I think, in Mystic as well, if you don't need charges. And it says exhaust Book of Shadows and spend 1 resource from your resources, not from this card, because it has no charges. And add 1 charge to a spell or asset you control. A spell asset you control. So that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If you got the money for it, I know Mystic stuff's getting kind of expensive now because 3 for everything is a higher cost than everything else. But
yeah, there's a transmutation spell which gives you money now,
and then you always have Forbidden Knowledge too, which is kind of tricky. So Forbidden Knowledge is a free action to get a resource off of it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
but it's good.
Yeah.
I like charges on my spells.
And so now we're into the survivor stuff. There's 3 survivor cards. I guess in the last set there was like 3 rogue cards in one, but survivors just feel like they get a lot because they like may or may not actually be good at the game. The first one we have is Fight or Flight. It's a 1-cost event. It says play fast. It's fast and play only during your turn. Until the end of the round, you get +X fight and +X evade, where X is the amount of horror on you. So maybe this goes in those decks that want you to have like a bunch of horror, and to use all those crazy skills, right?
Yeah, probably. I think Survivor's not my cup of tea, because I just feel that having all that horror on me to get even it's a cool ability, but having all that horror on me.
Oh well, or you could play this for 1 and get 2+2+2 if you have 2 horror, right?
It's just not worth it.
Not those things, yeah. I think this card is a lot better because you can play it at any time during the game and probably get some effect, but it doesn't have any commit icons, which does kind of suck.
Yeah.
But I see this being really useful because evading and fighting are things that they want to do better, if not just kind of capitalize on. Because Wendy wants to evade. This could be used to make a really vicious Duke attack hit.
Yeah. And
William York could use this either way, to evade or to hit. And for 1 resource, if you were mid-game, it's probably going to be a +2 or +3.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It's for the rest of the turn too, or for the rest of the round. So that's nice. So you could play it, and then you can maybe cheat some other actions in, or you have to do a test later on, and that could be okay. Maybe it's cool too when you're when someone's doing stuff like the cards that let you draw encounter cards, the extra experience or clues and things like that, and you can deal with that. Yeah, I was looking at the image too, and I was what is it? It was
something
tentacles and claws
and a fireplace, but it looks like something's coming through the door. So.
Yeah, and then there's green goop, but it's might be fire. I don't know. Why don't you help us decide? Or just tell us, because we can't figure it out. The next card is the next 2 cards are actually pretty cool. They're new Exile Survivor cards, so they're 1-time use and then you buy it again. That seems to be this running thing, is spend your experience to buy reusable cards in Survivor.
Yeah, these are kind of cool. The buying cost is weird to me, but it's one XP.
I think that 1 XP is to keep them out of certain decks, because it's going to cost 1 if it's if it's a 0-cost card or a 1-cost card anyway.
Yeah,
but it's to keep it out of things that can only have 0 cost.
XP's been kind of hard to come by in our campaign, don't you feel?
Yeah, but I think you get at least 2 a game.
That might just be us being really bad.
Our parties are interesting this time because I feel like we might have not done enough combat stuff.
That's true.
We kind of we'll do it. Tyler and I will do another review of our we'll play a 2-player Carcosa, and we'll do a review of it. But I think that's what we're running into play with our 4-player game is we just can't handle all the stuff that's kind of coming out at us. But anyway, back to the review of the pack. A Test of Will costs 1, and it's an event, and it's got 1 experience. It gives you a willpower icon, and it's a spirit card. It's a fast, and you can play it when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. And so it's very similar to Foresight or Forewarned, and what is the other one?
It's
Ward
like
of
Ward of Protection or something.
It lets you cancel the revelation effects on the card. So and you exile this card. So
and this is for any investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones are just for
your investigator.
Your investigator. So
yeah.
And this also has no cost.
What do you mean?
Because with Ward of Protection,
you just pay 1 resource. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, with Ward of Protection, you have to take a horror, and with Forewarned, you pay a clue.
Pay a clue, but this one's just exile it once per game. You can do this. You can use a Test of Will to just cancel the revelation effect on a card, which could be clutch because I know in situations we've had revelation effects from cards just mess up our entire everything
ruined.
So you're like sitting there like, okay, all we have to have happen is not this one thing, and the Mythos deck's like, oh, you mean this thing?
How about it happens twice?
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, thanks
guys. And then so pretty cool. I think that's an include in like anything that could have it should may play one of them if they're like mid campaign and they don't have they have like traumas and they might have some pretty brutal weaknesses. Not for this card, but to kind of mitigate the fact that you start to build up bad things, this card can take one of the game's bad things away instead of your deck's bad things. So the next thing is the Devil's Luck. It's a 1-cost event. It's got an agility icon on it, and it's a fortune card, so Rex cannot have the Devil's Luck. He will get not shot in the hat. He will get shot somewhere else. Fast.
That's dark.
No, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. It's fast. Play when you're dealt damage or horror. Cancel up to 10 damage or horror just dealt to you and exile Devil's Luck. And the flavor text says that was my favorite hat. I like. There's another card like this in Protector, which is the one that's like I've had worse or whatever, where you can cancel damage
and then you gain it as health.
I've never taken 10 damage before.
But
if you were,
it's good to have that cushion.
You know, you're right, because I'm thinking right now, and there's some cards that deal like 3 damage and 2 horror, and that's 5, and that's actually really good because you can cancel all of it, right? Then that's good.
Well, yeah,
it's actually really good.
This definitely would go good with the trench knife.
No, yeah,
because
it wouldn't though, because it's just 1 attack, so it's just 1 time you take damage, and you take damage 1 at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like I was thinking that too. I was like, if all the damage would build up, that would be really. Why are you looking at me like I just
your rules, okay. Your rules, and your naysaying.
I get in trouble for
rule mongering all the time.
I think it's cool. I maybe like single player. This is good. I don't know. You guys should tell us what you think, because I think it's kind of cool, but I don't know. You put it in your deck like right before the end of a campaign.
Still, there are enemies that do like catastrophic amounts of damage, like enemies that do like 2 horror and 2 health.
Do you just throw it in and hope that you use it, or do you just like with your first experience, you just put 1 in and you're like, if you ever need it, you have it, or do you like build to it? You're like, okay, I know what's happening in this campaign. Is it like a hard mode card or just a regular build with card?
It could be a hard mode card.
Okay, well, I definitely think it would be helpful in hard mode.
Even if you do like negate 2 damage, that's still a lot. And like, think of the first mode we did on Garcosa. There's that boss monster that's
that's what I was thinking. So like you have like Azathoth too in the last scenario that deals a lot of damage to you if he attacks you, and this card would be good at stopping a lot of that. So
yeah,
I agree with you. I definitely, that's what I was saying, like throw it in towards the end when you know you're gonna have to start, because the scenarios seem to escalate upwards and you start to encounter crazier and crazier stuff. So
they escalate quickly. Ron Burgundy.
And our final card is called Calling in Favors. Yeah, okay. I was trying to think of something clever to say, but I can't. 1 cost event. It's got a book and a agility icon. It's a favor subtype. Because it's calling in favors.
Hey.
Okay. Choose an ally asset you control and return it to your hand, and then search the top 9 cards of your deck for an ally asset and play it, reducing its cost by X. X is the cost of the ally asset returned to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So that's kind of cool. I like the idea of doing that. I don't know if there's like charges on any, but you could easily like reset the damage on them with this card.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, one of your assets that you like is about to die, so you just kind of pay 1 to put it back in your hand.
Yeah.
And get a free ally.
Yeah, I do like it because it's like, well, I have this asset or this ally who is good for early game. Well, now I need like this dude who's like a late game type of dude that are like.
And it lets you like invest, right? Because
Yeah.
you can pay like 4 resources really early and then make sure that you know you're going to be able to do it later with calling in favors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. I wanted to see the deck that uses it because there's a lot. You have to get you have 30 cards in your deck, which means this is hitting kind of a third. Like, so after you draw your starting hand, right, you have 5, so 25 cards ish, maybe 27 if you're 27 cards because you have the 2 weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 28. Anyway, so it's hitting like just around like a third of it.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So as you keep playing, you're more and more likely to hit a survivor or an ally. Sorry. But do you build to it, or do you just kind of have it in there to like hope for the best? Or do you like? Is this like something you include after you get charisma?
I would think you would probably.
Like, does your character start with it?
I would think you probably would.
Okay.
I would. I would think
if you have the deck that needs it.
I would think be like, I'm going heavy allies.
Oh, I just thought of a crazy combo. Chance encounter with this.
Yeah.
Because you can chance encounter, then you can pull that ally back to your hand, and then you don't have to discard at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're welcome, Internet. So that's all the cards for this pack. That was fun. There's a lot of cool stuff, new stuff in here. I'm really liking the patrons so far. I'm a fan of these survivor cards that you exile, but it feels so dirty exiling them. I'm like, because then you have to like.
It's hard to let go.
Do you replace? Like, you have to replace it, right?
You do, yeah.
And so you get something for kind of free after you exile, but if your deck is lower than your starting deck,
Or do you put the same card back in? Or?
Yeah, you'd have to pay an experience for that, but if you put because these are both one experience cost, but you could like throw something else in. So anyway,
it's hard, yeah.
It's hard to decide. A lot of decisions in life are hard, and you should probably never make them because it's easier to just not do anything.
That's some good advice.
All right. So we will see you next time. There's a pack out. I can't remember what the name of the pack is called, but that's because it's not out yet. So that's why I don't remember it or something. But make sure you come hang out at the shop if you like these games that we talk about here. Become a collector maniac, and you can win cool stuff every month. Like, I don't think Tyler has yet, but because he's a big hater, but he'll do it someday. And just in general, thanks for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe and stuff. Let us know what you think that art in Fight or Flight is. See you next time.
See you next pack.